everybody. There will eventually be slides that we'll be using for this, but in the meantime, how's everyone's MAGFest going? Good. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, how many people are here for your first ever MAGFest? Oh, man, okay. Can we all have a round of applause for everybody who's coming for the first time? Welcome. Welcome. I've been coming to MAGFest for many years, and I can say it's overwhelming sometimes the first year, so if you feel that way, do not worry. That's kind of part of the experience, and as you continue to go through MAGFest, you'll find that you feel more like, oh, I know people. Oh, I know what's going on, and I know where things are, and you kind of get part of our big, happy family. So I hope that becomes your experience as well. If you are a new person and you don't know your way around MAGFest, you can always ask anyone for help, because just about everyone who knows MAGFest, and those of you who love MAGFest can probably agree with me, if somebody needs help and you can help them love MAGFest more, you'll help them out, right? We're a pretty helpful bunch, so I hope that is the people are feeling welcomed. Let's see. I'm waiting to see if I can get this. Otherwise, I might have to do it without. But then you won't see my pretty pictures. Should I give it a couple minutes and then just go ahead and try my best without slides? Oh, okay, perfect. All right. Well, anybody who is sitting farther back, with the understanding that this panel is about overcoming shyness, I encourage you to come closer if you're comfortable with that. I do have some lanyards that I've put in this front section here that I would like anybody who wants one to be able to take, and I'll explain in a minute what those are for. If you don't feel comfortable coming forward, you can always come and get those later, and that's all right. But I am going to be encouraging folks to do a little bit of communication, and it is a bit easier for us to talk to each other when we're closer. So I encourage you, but if you are somebody who's like, no, that is really not my comfort zone, take care of yourself and do what's best for yourself. I don't want to push you beyond that. But I will encourage you to push yourself to that if you're all right. So if anybody wants to come closer, I promise I don't bite. Oh, look at that. Magical. Okay, thank you so much. Tech Ops is magical. Okay, there we go. In that case, are we ready to begin? I assume I should actually probably use the microphone because they say to use the microphone. Can you all hear me? Excellent. All right. Welcome to the 2024 edition of Overcoming Shyness and Making Friends. If you've been coming to MAGFest for several years, you might have come to a previous iteration of this. I've done this before. I try my best to make it inclusive and helpful for people of different comfort levels. Again, I want to encourage you, if I ask you to do something and you're not comfortable with it, please respect your own comfort. I don't want to push you beyond that. But we are here to try to overcome our shyness. And if there's anything I can do to make that easier and encourage you to do so, just let me know. The reason why I'm pitching this, why I brought this panel here this year is because I felt in the wake of some major changes to the planet, to the global experience, even people who have considered themselves comfortable in the past with talking to people and making friends have been commenting to me that they're having a harder time. So my hope is, regardless of what your skill or comfort level is, that I'll be able to give you something that might make things a little bit easier going forward. So before we dive in, I'll give you a quick explanation of who I am and why I'm the person up here talking. So I'm LaurentheFlute. Hello, I'm not actually a flute, or am I? You might have noticed I talk a lot. I am a very naturally chatty person. I consider myself an extrovert, but I consider myself a socially anxious extrovert, which means socially anxious introverts, in my experience, are more likely to be like, oh, I shouldn't say that. I'm more like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. So it's maybe not exactly the same, but a similar experience. And so I understand that feeling of second-guessing yourself and not being sure. I love people. I like to talk to people. I like to listen to people. I like to think about people and feelings, probably overthinking people and feelings. But I don't consider myself naturally good with people. If there is somebody out there who just knows what to say in every situation and they can put everyone at ease and they can handle every possible interaction beautifully, I'm not that. I have had to work at getting better at talking to people. I've had to work at getting better at understanding people and learning how to have conversations. Because the thing is, talking to people, making friends, all of these are skills. And I don't know how many tabletop RPG players we have, or people who play JRPGs, but you know if you play a game that has skills, you improve skills by getting experience points. If you consider talking to people, if you consider socializing, all of these skills, it's not a thing that you're inherently good or bad at, and that's just how it is. It's a thing you can get better at. It's something I've worked at getting better at, and it's something you can too, regardless of where you're starting from. And so that's what we're here to work on. So I have an agenda here to give you an idea of what we're going to go over. Some of this may be more applicable to some of you depending on your comfort levels and what you're here to work on. The first part, basically, I've noticed when people are uncomfortable or not sure about entering conversations, there's usually two main things that they're hung up on. Either they don't have the confidence to enter a conversation, or they feel like there's the way that conversations go that everyone else seems to know and they don't. So they don't know what to say. So the first two parts here are going to address that. The third part is focusing on, okay, now we've talked to people. How do we go about going from there to making friends and building and maintaining friendships? And then we have homework. So, overcoming shyness. Yes, this panel is named for Earthbound. Do we have Mother fans in the audience? Yes! I love these games, and what a welcoming community. Like, I love the Mother fandom. So I mentioned I've had to work at this, and I am a naturally anxious person. So I'm going to start kind of by sharing a little story, if that's all right. I used to sell artwork at conventions and artist alleys, and so my friends and I were tabling next to this really cool artist. And we kind of hit it off, because you spend a lot of time just sitting at your table together, and after the convention ended, we went out for dinner. And we were talking, and then I started that spiral, which some of you might know. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh my God, are they going to think I'm stupid? Did I say the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Do they even want to be here? Should I let them out of this conversation? What's going wrong? And you could kind of see it. And fortunately for me, I had a friend with me who was like, Lauren, are you okay? And that helped me pull out of the spiral. And fortunately, as awkward as that conversation got, I actually wound up being friends with the new person that I'd met. Like, I went to their wedding a few years later. So obviously that was not a deal breaker. But that spiral is such a common occurrence that I want to address kind of what do we do, how do we avoid getting there, and how do we get out of there? Because I think you'll find, because I've done this panel enough times and I've seen enough people who say, oh, I'm shy, I can't talk to people. And then the first time I give them a chance to say hello, I have to be like, wait, shh, stop talking. We have to get on with the panel, because it turns out that when you give yourself permission to do something scary and hard, it is amazing how you can face the thing that you're terrified of, maybe, and still do it and be okay. So I want to start off by, I skipped a slide. We've already talked about this, but I want to start off by giving you permission. We are working on something. We are practicing something. Every single person in this room is here because the idea of learning to overcome shyness and make friends is appealing. That means that everyone here is your ally. We're all in a tutorial level together. These are people who are open to you taking chances. So we're going to work on that. I'm going to encourage you during this panel to talk to people, to talk to each other, because talking to people is a skill and it is something you can work on over time. As you know, you have to practice things to get better. I mean, you are not born knowing how to drive a car. You are not born knowing how to play Dance Dance Revolution, or at least I certainly wasn't. And can we talk about the game that teaches us all to embrace failure and move on? That's what makes Dark Souls fun. It's not punishing. It encourages you. Every time you make a mistake, you get back up and you try again. Well, the same thing can happen with talking to people, with socializing. And so I'm going to give you permission to take chances. I'm going to give you permission to potentially stick your foot in your mouth. That's okay. To be shy, to not know what to say. Everybody in this room understands. So especially while you are in this room, you have permission to take that chance, and it is safe. But I'm going to forbid you to do something. Don't go talking about yourself negatively. I'll know. There'll just be a Lauren appearing over your shoulder. If you're not familiar with the concept of negative self-talk, It's basically the way that we talk about ourselves affects the way that we think about ourselves. And I know there's a lot of self-deprecating humor out there, and it can be really funny. But if you lean on that a lot, you start thinking that way about yourself. And if you do think that way about yourself, you kind of hurt yourself by thinking that way. So while you're at MAGFest, I challenge you not to do that. I challenge you, anytime your brain starts to go there, interrupt it. Here is an example. It is a little hard to ask somebody who tends to think negatively of themselves to think positively. I'm not saying you have to go from being like, I'm insecure, to, I am amazing. It's a little bit much. But can we start with neutrality? The thing about saying, I am bad at this, is that that's a thing that can't change. And the whole point of this, and I stand by what I say, is that you can change it and you can get better at it. So instead of saying, I'm bad at this, you can say, I don't know how to do this. Because then you can learn, and then you can work on it. If you say, I messed up, I made a mistake, that's kind of punishing yourself. Well, that didn't go how I planned it. That did not go the way I wanted it to. That's a statement. You're allowed to own the fact that it didn't go well. But that's all right. That's one instance, one example. If you start thinking like you're a failure because it didn't go well, no, you're still learning. It's all right. Do you give the level 1 characters in your party a hard time because they can't take on like level 50 monsters? No, it's all right. Sorry, I play a lot of RPGs. And the idea is basically, if something goes wrong, it doesn't define who you are or what you do. It's okay. You'll do better next time. But remember, because I don't want to get bogged down in those feelings of negativity. I understand and recognize a lot of us have them. I have them. I call them brain gremlins. Try to avoid the brain gremlins when you can, but also try to remember that you are awesome. Every single one of you is a unique individual person. And there is something about you that you have to offer the world. There is something about you that people who are like you will love. If you have found somebody who you don't click with, that doesn't mean you won't click with anyone. There are people out there who will understand you and not just accept you, but support you and encourage you, and you will find them. And I think that there's a higher than average chance of finding them at MAGFest, because a lot of us, we're big nerds, we like music, we like video games, and so we're likely to generally have some things in common. If you make a mistake, if there is something about you that you don't like about yourself, congratulations, you're human. That's all that means. Nobody is perfect, and it is okay to make mistakes and have imperfections. Forgive yourself for that, and try to figure out what it is that you can love about yourself and what it is that you can be proud of, and celebrate that. If that spiral starts, where you start feeling, you can feel those brain gremlins coming, cut it off by turning it into something positive. You don't have to be like, I was going to say I'm terrible, but instead I'm going to say I'm amazing. Like, no. Before you start apologizing for your existence in this world, celebrate someone else. Compliment someone else. Say something good or kind. Think about the things you love. When you're having conversations with people, try to focus on the stuff that makes you happy. I know that it's fun to make fun of stuff we hate, but try to spend a lot of your time thinking about the things you love. That'll bleed over into your conversations too, make them fun, make them happy, allow you to bond with people over things you love, which I think is healthier. Just generally, that's something that I very much believe in, that we all have the ability to make things a little brighter. So, you've been kind of working on yourself. You've heard me kind of give you my feel-good speech, but I actually genuinely believe it. There are many people, I love talking to people. They have wonderful things about them. Even if you don't feel that, you can't see it, you're biased, that doesn't mean it's not there. But how do we talk? Okay, how do we talk to people? Fine, you say, Lauren, I'm willing to accept that I can move into neutrality about myself. What do I do? Okay, so yes, The Sims. I like The Sims. Conversations may seem complicated and difficult, and I don't know what to do or say. You can follow a script, just like you're choosing dialogue options. And nobody will know. Nobody will know that you're cheating. You're not going to get in trouble for it. If you're still learning to feel comfortable, you can figure out some basic patterns that you can follow and practice and grind for levels and get better. And that totally counts. So conversations are, we're going to talk about them. So you choose your dialogue options. How do you initiate a conversation? I'm going to do my best to give some tips here. If there's a person that you see and you want to talk to them, you don't have to rush right in there and then be like, You can take a moment. Why do you want to talk to that person? What kind of thing do you want to say to them? Do you have a question? Is there something you want to compliment them on? Is there something you want to remark on? And then you figure out, okay, this is my tactic. I've got my strategy. I'm going to go in there, and then you go in there. You're allowed to do that, by the way. And you can practice. You can practice this with people you know. You can practice this in the mirror. I know that practicing and talking to people in the mirror is a kind of a cliche, but it works. It feels a little silly, but it works. I do that. So complimenting someone is a great way to initiate a conversation. Everybody likes to feel good and appreciated. You can ask about something if you want to engage in conversation, like, oh, that's a Bit Brigade shirt. I love Bit Brigade. What's your favorite thing that they do? I like Ninja Gaiden. My friends all like Contraband Fest. And again, it's okay to follow a script. I'm giving you these like little tips. I'm giving you these instructions. It's okay to say, this is how it works. It's okay to say questions. That's a good way to have a conversation. And it is. It's very effective. If you look even at dialogue trees in video games, a lot of times, how do you progress them? With questions. Now, I do want to say, because this is something that we can kind of not be sure, how do we balance? How much do they talk? How much do I talk? If you ask someone a question, listen to the answer that they give, because you're talking to them because you want to know about them. So take that opportunity. A fun thing about asking people about themselves, people love talking about themselves. Like, they love it. And there's something psychological that if you get them to talk about themselves and you seem interested, they're going to like you. And it's a very interesting thing, but it does work. So if you want to get to know somebody and make a good impression, that is actually a pretty effective tactic you can take. But it's also okay for you to talk about things that you care about. It's okay for you to answer those questions. Ideally, it's kind of like Pong, where you listen to them, and then you respond to what they say. And then if there's a moment that you don't know what to say, you can ask them another question, and then you can respond to that. And it may feel a little bit artificial, but if you practice it and kind of get a feel for it, it can lead to a more comfortable flow of conversation. Something that I've heard people comment that they're not sure how to tell if somebody wants to talk to you or not talk to you. And this is something I could have used that time many years ago when I started getting really insecure. The person I was talking to didn't give me any of the signals that they didn't want to talk to me, but I was in my own head. If you can pull yourself out of your own head, these are not sure thing 100% things. But in general, with the exception of cultural or personal differences, if somebody is standing at MAGFest and they're just kind of looking at the room, if you're standing in a line with somebody and they're not doing something, it's probably a safe chance to say, hey, initiate conversation. If you're talking to someone and they make eye contact with you, that's a good sign that they're interested. If they don't make eye contact, that does not mean they're not interested. There are plenty of people who don't make eye contact, so this is more of a positive thing but not a negative thing, if that makes sense. That's why the asterisk is there. If they smile, if they turn towards you, if their body language is open, that's usually a sign that they want to participate. If they are turned away from you, if they're busy doing something else, you can go up to them and have a drive-by hello, which counts as getting experience. You can tap them on the shoulder. Your costume is amazing. I love that game. And leave. You're totally allowed. That's permitted. If they want to engage in conversation with you from there, they will. And you still get experience. If you have a hard time talking to somebody, that is something that I recommend as a little bite-sized practice, because it has a limited start and end. But you're allowed to do that. If somebody is talking to somebody else, that's probably not the time to interject and try to have a whole conversation with them. Other signs, if they pull out their phone and they're scrolling through their phone, probably a sign that they're trying to signal that they're done with the conversation. If they're looking for someone else or if their body language closes away, don't feel bad. That may be a sign that they want to disengage, in which case you can say, if you have to go, that's all right, have a lovely MAGFest. Some cue to give them the chance to step away. which they will appreciate if they do. And if it turns out that they're like, no, I'm just really nervous, but I want to talk to you, they can say, no, it's fine, and then you don't have to worry about it because you just asked them. If a conversation does not go the way you want it to, we've all been there, it's frustrating, and I think a lot of times it tends to weigh on our shoulders. Don't take it personally, though, because you don't know what happened. Maybe you stuck your foot in your mouth, or maybe they got a migraine, maybe their social battery ran out, maybe their arch nemesis has the same name as you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So try as best you can, and I know some of us have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which is a thing that makes you really sensitive when someone rejects you. Try to remember it might not have anything to do with you. You can't read their minds, or at least I don't think you can. Is Professor X here? Okay, so ending conversations is one that I've had a hard time with in the past. I've gotten better at it because I've practiced it. Just as you gave people the option to say, you might be busy, you can say, well, I've got to go. Have a great MAGFest. If you're interested in talking to someone later, you can continue the conversation, or you can say, I'd like to keep up with you. But you can just say, I have to go. In fact, you can even say, and this is what I used to do, I'm really bad at ending conversations, but I have to go. People are really understanding. And if you have to own it like that, you can. And a lot of times people are like, oh, thank God, me too. So you never know. And regardless of whether your conversations are amazing or awkward, regardless of whether you make a new best friend or talk to 3 cosplayers and tell them they look great, no matter what, you have gained experience, and that experience counts. And every single time you talk to someone, whether you have a scripted conversation with someone at the grocery store about, man, it sure is crowded in here today, or you're walking down the street and someone has an umbrella, it sure is rainy today, that counts as talking to someone. And if that's what you need to do to feel more comfortable, it counts and it gives you experience. So, I warned you that I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk to each other. Again, before we do this, I want to remind you all that this is a safe place. Nobody is going to make you feel bad. Everybody understands where you're coming from. So please, if you can feel comfortable, if you don't, I understand, but if you can feel comfortable, I ask that you take a couple of minutes, turn to the person sitting near you who you don't know, and have a quick hello. And if you feel brave, you can choose one of these other questions, or your own. All right. I'm going to grab you back. If you folks can wrap it up. All right. For those of you who were able to talk to a stranger, congratulations. For those of you who aren't quite there, but you're in the room with us, also congratulations. How many people who just talked to a stranger would not have considered yourself someone who could comfortably talk to a stranger? There's a few of you here, but you just did it. That is incredible. That is a thing that I learned the first time I did this because I expected that I would say hello to the person next to you, and people would be like, hello. And if that's where you are, that's totally okay. But a lot of you, it turns out, are higher level than you think you are. So, we're going to do we will be talking more, don't worry. But I want to make sure that we get through the rest of the panel as well. I'll give you some more information, and then I'll have an assignment, and then we'll wrap up. So making friends. For those of you who are like, okay, I can talk to strangers. Okay, I can talk to people. What do I do? How do I make friends? Because the world is different. And I'm not 100% sure, but it does, like why, but I've been looking into it, and it does seem that a lot of people are struggling. If you're a person who at one point was able to make friends and you feel that it's harder now, or if you're a person who's always had a hard time with it and it got harder, it's not just you. It is so many other people out there. Which for me meant, wait, that means there's nothing wrong with me. That means it's not that people don't want to be my friend. It's that friendship is hard. And that also means that there's other people out there who want to make friends. And they're struggling with it too, which in a way is good for you because that means that there's a lot of people that you have opportunities to connect with. So how do you meet people? Okay, we're nerds. I think it's safe to say we're all nerdy people. We live on the internet, yes? There are so many places online to meet people. There are Discord communities that are local if you want to meet up with people in person. There are Discord communities about things you have in common, like, oh, say, MAGFest. There's also something called Meetup, which if you're not familiar with it, is a collection of, like basically people can sign up for a group and say, this group is a book club. This group is for people who like to make games and drink. Like whatever your hobby is, there's somebody out there probably who shares it. And Meetup, I think meetup.com is a place to find those groups. Also, a lot of community centers offer classes. The thing about meeting people is that if you interact with somebody while you're doing something else, you don't have to be the entertaining one. The thing is entertaining for you. So classes are a really good way to be around people without having to have the entire pressure of making friends on yourself. Likewise, a lot of game stores have drop-in D&D or trading card game tournaments or just social events or things like that you can go to. There's, if you're a board gamer, there are so many opportunities. I don't play board games, and I wish I did, because there are many, many opportunities for board gamers to get together and meet strangers and play games together, and you have the game. Maybe you like talking to the person you're playing with, and you can exchange contact information at the end of the night. There are also, if you feel like trying to meet people one-on-one, so you know there's dating apps, and they're kind of, there are friendship equivalents, and they're way less pressure and way less weird. So if you want to try to reach out to people in one-on-one, I didn't know those existed until a friend told me, and I've met some new people, which is cool. So these are all options that can help you meet people. But don't feel like you have to do everything all at once. Because if you go out there and you join 10 meetups and 10 new Discords and you message 50 people and then you're just like, oh God, what do I do? It's really hard to keep moving forward. So just bite off a small piece at a time and give yourself some time to see, is this a good group for me? Can I kind of find my footing? And if that isn't the right one for you, then you can move on to the next one. But ideally, if you can take your time, you'll find someone and connect within a small, manageable number of communities. Because I mentioned dating apps, I am obligated to say friendship is not the same as dating, and if you are looking for friends, try not to complicate that by looking for dating within the same thing. If you are both looking for friends and looking for someone to date, my recommendation is to focus on friends first, because that will give you a nice, more comfortable, more secure place that you can stand and be like, no, I know that I'm good and I have people who've got my back. Now I'm going to take the risk. And you never know. If you make new friends, they might be the person to introduce you to your next partner. Okay, we've moved on. We've made friends. We've tried a Discord community. We've been on Meetup and we found people we like. What do we do now? I recommend, just like I mentioned, getting to know somebody when you are not the only focus is much easier and more comfortable. When you have friends together for the first time or you're just getting to know each other, I strongly recommend having an activity to do. It takes the pressure off. It makes it less stressful. You don't have to be as anxious. And there are many things to do: board games, movies, cookies, concerts, escape rooms. I recommend with new groups of people that you try to keep get-togethers in public for people's comfort and safety. And then as you get to know each other, you can say, well, come over to my place and we'll watch my favorite anime. If you get to the point where you're like, I'm high enough level that I have a group of friends coming together now, then you get to be the person who can help the people who are where you are sitting now. You can take it and pay it forward. If you see the quiet person in the group, say hello to them. reach out and let them know that they're welcome to come closer into the circle. And that's another thing to keep in mind if you are at MAGFest and you see somebody who looks like they're a little lonely and off to the side. That may be a person who would love to have someone to talk to, and that can be you. And you can make their day and make a new friend. Because remember, a lot of people in this world are looking for friends. All of you are here because you want to meet people, you want to make friends. And there are many people out there who feel the same way. So if you can keep in mind that other people are actively wanting to meet you, actively wanting you to be somebody they might be friends with, I think it can be a little easier to take that chance and that risk. And conversations can lead to a friendship. Talking to somebody can lead you to be best friends, but it's not something that usually happens overnight. So if you come to MAGFest and you meet a bunch of people and then you leave and you're like, oh, I didn't make a best friend. I only sort of know these people. Did I fail? No, you didn't. I don't know how many people play Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons, or any games like that where you can make friends with townspeople, but it takes time. You have to bring your neighbor an egg every day if you want that heart to change colors. So if you're feeling a little bit down, remind yourself, it's okay, this is a process. And you're starting the process. You've delivered the first egg. So, I have a couple of things I'm going to say, and then I'm going to turn you loose for a little while longer. Just before, because some people I know are going to be uncomfortable and run away when I tell you to talk, and that's totally valid, and I respect that. There are these lanyards, these bright green lanyards. I have given them to all of you, and if you don't have one, there's more up here. For the rest of MAGFest, you can wear this anytime you want to, so that other people who are here and are in the know can be like, you're in the tutorial level too. It's like, I don't know who here plays Final Fantasy XIV. Sprout. So you can find each other ideally, even from a distance. I have a friend who's very shy, and she was like, if you make it so I can see the person across the room is safe to talk to, I'll do it. So my hope is that will be that. So if you're, when I say talk to people, you want to run away, come grab one of these if you feel comfortable, and then by all means do what you have to do. But for everyone else, I have an assignment for you. I promised we were going to practice talking. I want you to talk to each other and find somebody who falls into each of these categories. I'm going to turn you loose for 10, 15 minutes, if that's all right with you. I have one more slide and one more thing to talk about after that for closing notes. But do you think we can do this? Are we high enough level? Are you a bad enough dude? All right. Mingle. And if anybody is shy about talking to strangers and you want to come talk to me, I'm your quest giver. I'm your tutorial quest giver. I promise I'm safe. All right, before I completely turn you loose, I do want to say I have one more thing. As a reminder, these green lanyards are to indicate to other people for the rest of MAGFest that you want to talk to people. If you find yourself overstimulated and you no longer want to talk to people, it's a lanyard. You can remove it. You can come and go as you please with it. If you see somebody else with it and you wind up making friends with them, let me know. I would love to hear about it. There is a first-timers meetup for those of you who have never been to MAGFest before. I'm not affiliated with it, but I saw it on the MAGFest Discord. It's going to be tonight, I think, at 7 p.m. in the main lobby. The MAGFest Discord is a great place to make plans to connect. So you can say, hey, anyone from Overcoming Shyness who wants to go do this thing or go to this concert, will anyone come? It might be a good way. If you need my help trying to organize things, let me know. Otherwise, I have some friends trying to help me sort these out. Another thing to kind of help you connect with people you have things in common with, I have these silly little keychain things. They're too small to see by themselves, but you can keep them on your badge. They are for these different fandoms. You can find one that looks like a fandom you like, and then when you meet another person with the lanyard, you can see, do they have the same color I have? Or not, you can ask them, what does that stand for? Instant conversation topic. It's a way of signaling to our people that we have something in common, which is one of the things that's so nice about MAGFest. So I'm going to have these up here. If you want to come and grab one, I have a limited supply, but I think we'll be all right. Other than that, does anyone have any questions, concerns, anything that I can help with? Or shall I turn you loose? I think you're doing great. I hope you're making friends. If you want more of these lanyards for your friends, just let me know and I can give you them. All right, thank you all so much, and have a wonderful MAGFest.